Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again, and as you saw, I made my first Saviour build a few weeks back. It was pure physical, double strike as a berserker, and running the pure physical build and a strike skill made me really kind of also want to explore the other side of things for melee, and that is more of a pure elemental and some other funky skills like static strike, consecrated path, frost blades, wild strike, shit like that. But in this version I specifically wanted to do static strike and consecrated path, and it's built as pure elemental, and as well as that it's an elementalist. So I really did want to get into the full elemental side of things with a Saviour, just to try out the sword at least one more time, since it is a very fun item and I think you can spend the entire league just building skills around it. But I'm trying to go a bit less heavy on the overpoweredness this time around, not using an Abyssus, trying out a different chest for a change, which is the Blight chest, very underused at the moment, because there's not really much reason to use it, especially with the new explosion chests out there. As well as that, all the footage you're currently seeing is Saviour paired with a UR's Mirage, so it's a level 20 leveling sword, which I have yet to upgrade for my character, just because I've been pretty lazy in rolling my new weapon, and as well as that, UR's Mirage seems to carry us just fine all the way up to level 90 and doing tier 14 maps, so you're seeing a much lower required character than the previous one, but it does still start out with a Saviour, and then just a couple of nice little pieces of gear from various other characters as well. There's a fair bit of reusing other characters' gear going around in some of these builds from me these days, because I've got some nice gear that I already crafted and don't always feel the need to recraft it, but I also recrafted a lot of my gear. In any case, we are playing Static Strike paired with Consecrated Path. The idea behind that is that you kind of hit something with Static Strike with Ancestral Call. If you're in the middle of things, you hit 3 times, and that gets you 3 static charges instantly, and then we poof around with our Consecrated Path while having 3 static charges going, and that was kind of my concept for the build. I wanted to have another go at Consecrated Path since I haven't done it in quite a while, and as well as that, bring some Static Strike love to the forefront, because it is a very enjoyable skill and I've loved playing it in the past, mostly as Voidforge variants though. And at this stage it's kind of difficult to say what's better or what's carrying more in the setup. It's not entirely easy to tell, especially all the MTX and all of that, but if you just went full Static Strike, you'd have very good clear and pretty good single target. If you went just full Consecrated Path, once again, you'd have pretty good clear and also decent single target. Neither are particularly good at single target, but the hope is that on a single target enemy, I can get 3 static charges up and then just have a pure conc path setup. Chances are I will have to use one or the other when coming to actual bosses, because all the footage you're seeing right now, Consecrated Path is essentially on a 3-link, because there's only 3. I'm just using a 6-link for both setups, so both setups are technically 5 links, but Consecrated Path doesn't make use of Ancestral Call, so it's just got 3 links attached to it and it's on a 4-link, while Static Strike is just on a pretty crappy 5-link because it's using Ancestral Call. Decided not to use the additional strike gloves as they're not really too necessary, and I focused more on the conversion instead. So once we go for a full-blown 6-link, I think our damage should be just fine for any content, but going up to level 90 and just clearing maps and stuff, having both skills into the one chest and picking and choosing between the skills is actually a pretty fun playstyle. I wish I could have got a separate 4-link and a separate 6-link, but as an elementalist, I am so strapped for gem sockets that there's just no fucking way. I've got 4 heralds, I've got 5 golems, and some bunch of auras and stuff, so we're pretty strapped for sockets. And Elementalist, I wanted to play again since I played 1 this league and golems were kind of dying. I figured maybe this time around, now that we've got a bit more gear and potential for a stronger character, Elementalist might be able to shine a little more without having too much trouble on the golem survivability. We'll have to wait and see. I haven't really gone too deep into any content yet. I only just started the tier 14s and that sort of thing. It's been a very fun character so far, and I definitely do think it's got potential to go all the way. So let's jump into what the character looks like thus far. So here we are with our character, level 90 Elementalist called Z-Kamas. You're gonna have to go with me on a journey here. When Quinn made his character for the ZDPS Melee League, and I jumped in Discord with him. There's a video there on his channel if you want to see that. He panicked when first making his character and just called it Kamas, and it was kind of a funny thing in the end when he like raged about it. And then I'm kind of throwing shade at the whole Walson thing when his stash disappeared, or like half of it. So it's like 0 stash Kamas, right? Makes sense? Yeah, we're all good. So it's an Elementalist, and it is based around a Saviour. As always, I wanted to play it a second time around. Pretty basic weapon still, just stat-wise, but then you can create 2 mirrors of yourself that once you crit with a certain skill, it will create a copy of yourself and then run around using that skill that it crit with. So it essentially doubles your damage when you have 2 of them out there, because they each deal 50% of your damage, and it just is a bit of fun to have a lot of extra the boys running around doing extra shit. And we've been leveling with a UR's Mirage right from level 26 to now, primarily because it's got some attack speed and then the additional chain when in main hand. So Static Strike, if you don't know, does some chaining action, and it has +1 chain at the moment just by default. Another chain means it'll chain 2 times, and it'll have a lot of just spread and AoE clear, and it's actually pretty comfortable to level with, and then also end game with to have an additional chain, but by all means not that necessary anymore. Or you could just have a pure Static Strike setup and have really beefy, strong stuff like a Voidforge and run a chain gem for 2 additional chains while subbing in something like close combat or single target. But primarily I'm also using Consecrated Path over here. I just had a pure 6-link setup for a quick second because I was doing beasts and all that, but I've been double dipping my 6-link to have Consecrated Path and Static Strike, and then we've got Ele Damage with Attacks, Melee Phys, Fortify, because I haven't put Fortify anywhere else yet, and Ancestral Call. So it's a pretty weak hybrid link at the moment, but it is definitely good enough and quite a lot of fun to use both skills. We'll see how we go in the end game as to whether or not I have to swap around some other skills. You can see the chest I'm using is the Blight chest foreguard. It was pretty fancy when Blight came out, but with other explosion chests that you can craft yourself, it definitely got relegated to backseat status. The explode mod really isn't that good because it's pretty situational as to whether or not this ground is going to be around you. You've got to be stationary. As soon as you start moving, ground disappears. As soon as you use an attack, typically, ground will disappear because it doesn't count as stationary. And the explosion mod, not really reliable at all. But that's not really why we're using it. We just want the fungal ground while stationary because it gives you 10% of non-chaos as extra chaos, and then enemies deal 10% less while standing on fungal ground, and it gives you an extra anoint, and in this case we've taken Primeval Force down here, and then my amulet anoints Fatal Blade, so that saves us having to go all the way down here for a bunch of crap. And that's why we're using that. By no means is it that good, or you have to use it. You can use a much stronger chest, get a lot more life in the build, get a bit of base crit, craft your own thing, use the Law Weave, Belly of the Beast, whatever the shit. This thing is hardly a staple. It's just what I've chosen to use because I've never used one before. Aside from that though, we just got some pretty basic, you know, get an Assassin Mark ring, using a Purity buff effect synthesis ring, because a lot of our damage is going to be reliant on stacking flat phys to make this less shitty. Crafted some boots with chaos spam. It's a pretty reliable way of making some nice sort of redeemer boots. If you just grab I-86 two-tone boots, chaos spam them until they've got a couple of spare prefixes, or even one spare prefix, and then slam it with a redeemer orb, and you'll either get elusive, Phys extra cold, endurance charge on kill, or one crappy mod which is immune to chilled ground, but still you can make some pretty nice boots that way. Got my double converted gloves, which are temple gloves, that then need to be not Crusader, Oh yeah, no, Crusader slammed. And if they're of a certain eye level, 71 to 74, you can only roll this extra conversion. So they do become 50% converted pretty conveniently. And then using a devouring diadem just so I can fit in even more auras. Because in this current situation, I'm running Hatred, Herald of Ice, Herald of Purity, Herald of Thunder, Herald of Ash, and a Precision as well. We've got a lot of extra auras and a lot of fun through the Elementalist because of that. It's like very interesting and fun-based ascendancy, I feel, because every couple of points are huge. You get an extra golem, a lot of damage, an extra golem, a lot of damage, some big area every now and again, and then you get to use all of your heralds all at once. They give you lots of penetration, lots of damage, and they make, your clear quite a bit stronger. So it does end up being a very fun ascendancy to go through. And I always go golems first because by level 34 you can usually have 4 golems. That's quite a lot of fun to level with, and then it lets you kind of do whatever you want. And that's basically why I went to Devouring Diadem, just to get a slightly different setup as to just pure Abyssus, and it makes us quite a bit tankier. In the end, my character's probably only going to have about 5k life, but it can take a lot of hits, and it is actually pretty tanky. Thanks to the Golem regen from Stone Golem, the defensive purposes of Chaos Golem, using a Lion's Roar, have some pretty good Chaos Resist, using a Taste of Hate. In the end, I do have 44 Chaos Res while that's up. I've got Perma Fortify, I've got like 1,000 life regen from the Stone Golem, some shit like that, while getting some Leech and some pretty big survivability overall. And I'm not sure I've died. I think I've died once in this character so far, just while leveling through a couple of maps. Actually, no, a couple times through some bullshit mechanics. It was bullshit though, right? Yeah, of course it was. So the life total isn't going to be huge, but it shouldn't really matter in the end. And what it does is give us Eldritch Battery, so we can reserve all of our mana, and then all of our attacks are based entirely off of the energy shield, and that makes life a bit more comfortable that way. To begin with, I wanted to build the character as pure CI, and then use a Crown of Eyes, but I think this just made a little bit more sense, or I kind of wanted to do it more. Passive tree is kind of all over the place. You do have to, currently we've got an intuitive leap just to squeeze that in and that in. Still debating on whether or not it's worth it, because you can just spec the 2 points and grab some other jewel, but you do lose that. So kind of 3 points worth, who knows. Aside from that, you're going over here, getting Spiritual Aid. It's usually a pretty good thing to get in golem builds, just so you can get damage for yourself and a bit of survivability for them. Had to get all of this aura shit so I could fit all my auras in. Had to get some Ele and conversion and disemboweling for crit. Just got a Mantra of Flames because I've got a shitload of buff effects at the moment, thanks to all of the auras and golem buffs and situational buffs. So while leveling, this thing is going to carry you if you want to chuck one of these in, but I might end up replacing it for endgame. Got an Anima Stone, that gives us +1 golem, intuitive leap, and then just some crit multi and attack speed there. And then you go over this way for crit multi, crit, life, all that sort of good stuff. The main challenge is just going to be upping our life a bit while still keeping our damage, and I will eventually just grab a better sword. Crafted one, yesterday, that happened to have all the good stuff. Spiraled foil, get a Warlord base, 83 if you can. Doesn't have to be a jeweled, since Spiral is just as good for damage, but quite a bit cheaper. And then just keep alt-regaling until some good results happen. This one was a flaring and attack speed to begin with, so then I just went in with lots of imprints to try and make it better and better. And it's a 500 DPS sword in the end. I'm not going to be using it. It's a little too unethical, but I think typically it's pretty easy to get a solid result with a sword right now with a couple of thousand alterations. Just regal every single attack speed, every single Warlords mod, every single flaring, every single merciless, tyrannical, all that shit, and eventually you'll come up with some sort of decent, respectable sword that will for sure pair nicely with a Saviour. But in this build specifically, a Paradoxica probably would be the best damage sword you can get, since we've got a lot of flat elemental, and Paradoxica would double that, as well as doubling all of the physical, but it would be a bit slow, and I'm not a big fan of how slow a Paradoxica build would feel. So I might try it out in the end, but I'm leaning heavier towards a faster, self-crafted sword. For now though guys, I think that's all I've got to say about the character. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.